The Scottish Highlands were quiet that morning. The mist rolled low across the heather, curling like breath over the ancient stones, as though the land itself was holding something sacred, something final. Jamie Fraser stood at the edge of the hill, his hand resting on the worn hilt of his sword. Below, the valley was still sleeping, drenched in silver dew. He could hear the faint echo of the sea, far in the distance, and the cry of a lone gull cutting through the fog. It felt like a farewell. Claire had not yet woken. She was still inside the cottage, their last refuge. Their home, if one could still call it that, had become a place suspended between centuries and fates. Jamie closed his eyes. He could almost hear her voice, soft as a prayer. "Jamie, promise me you'll come back." He had promised. God help him, he had always promised. But this time, he knew, he wouldn't. The wars had ended, the rebellion was gone, and the world they once fought for had changed beyond recognition. Yet time, relentless as ever, had found a way to test them again. Claire, with her modern knowledge and her stubborn heart, had held on as long as she could. Her hair was streaked with silver now, her hands trembling sometimes as she stitched. But her spirit was as fierce as the day they met. Jamie had grown older, too. His shoulders bore the weight of loss, and his eyes, those storm-blue eyes that once burned with youth, had dimmed, softened by years of love and war. Still, when she looked at him, she saw him, not the years. Not the scars. Just Jamie. He turned toward the cottage as the first light of dawn spilled over the horizon. Inside, Claire sat by the hearth, her medical bag open on the table, her journal resting beside it. She was writing, as she always did, recording every fragment of memory, every echo of their impossible story. When she saw him, she smiled faintly. "You're up early," she said, her voice tired but tender. Jamie shrugged, his mouth curling into that familiar, crooked grin. "The dawn wouldn't await, Sassenach. So I thought I'd meet it halfway." She chuckled softly, and for a moment, it was as if time folded back, like all the years between Culloden and Fraser's Ridge had never passed. "Jamie," she said after a while, her voice quieter now. "Do you ever think about the end?" He looked at her, and something in his chest tightened. "The end of what, of us?" she whispered. Jamie took a deep breath, his gaze falling to the fire. The flames danced and cracked, reflecting in his eyes like tiny ghosts. I think of it, but then I remember, we've had more than most ever dream of. A lifetime of love, 2, maybe 3, if ye count all the times fate tried to take ye away and failed." Claire smiled sadly. "You always find a way to make it sound poetic." He reached across the table, his rough hand covering hers. "Sassenach, if this truly is our last season together, then let it be ours. No regrets. No running. Just you and me, until the last dawn breaks." The wind howled outside, shaking the old wooden shutters. Claire's eyes shimmered with tears. "Jamie, I don't want it to end." He leaned closer, pressing his forehead against hers. "It canna end, mo nigh in dawn. Love like ours doesna die, it only changes form." For a while, they sat in silence, the firelight painting their faces in golden shadow. Outside, the storm rolled in. Thunder echoed across the hills like drums from another century. Then, in that fragile stillness, Claire made her decision. She reached for her medical bag and pulled out a small glass vial, something she had been keeping hidden. A final remedy, a way to ease pain, to grant peace if the time ever came. "Jamie," she said softly, "I can't watch you suffer again. Not after everything." He stared at her, his jaw tightening. "Sassenach," but before he could protest, she reached up and touched his cheek. Her hand was warm, trembling slightly. "Promise me," she whispered, "that if I go first, you'll let me go." Jamie closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt truly afraid, not of death, but of a world without her. When he finally spoke, his voice was a broken whisper. "I'll promise, if ye promise me the same." She nodded. Their fingers intertwined, trembling but steady. The promise hung between them, fragile as smoke, eternal as stone. Outside, the storm broke. Rain swept across the highlands, washing the land clean. And deep within the cottage, beneath the roar of thunder and the whisper of wind, two hearts beat as one, knowing that every beat might be their last, and yet loving all the same. The rain did not stop for 3 days. It came in slow, mournful sheets, drumming against the roof of the cottage, seeping into the cracks like the memories that had no place else to go. The world outside blurred into gray, but inside, the fire still burned, soft, stubborn, and alive. Claire sat by the window, her knees drawn to her chest, watching the rain trace fragile paths down the glass. Jamie was outside, mending the fence that the storm had battered, though she knew he didn't need to. It was his way of keeping the ache at bay. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened her daughter Brianna's journal, one she had found tucked beneath a stack of letters weeks ago. She had meant to read it earlier, but something inside her had resisted. Perhaps she feared what it might reveal. The first page was written in Brianna's bold, familiar hand. "If you're reading this, Mama, it means I never got to tell you what I found." Claire's heart skipped. History doesn't record everything. But in one old Scottish ledger, I saw your names. Yours and Dawes. It said you both vanished after the Great Storm of 1801. No graves. No records. Just, gone. Claire felt her breath catch in her throat. The ink was faded, smudged in places as though touched by tears. She turned the page. "Roger thinks it was the stones again. That maybe you were taken once more, together this time. Maybe it was your choice. I don't know, but I need to believe that wherever you are, you're together." A tear slid down Claire's cheek before she realized it. She closed the book slowly, pressing it to her chest. For years she had lived between centuries, between lives, each time ripped away from something she loved. But this felt like prophecy. When Jamie came back in, soaked and muddy, she was still sitting there, pale and silent. He frowned. "What's amiss, Sassenach?" She handed him the journal. "It's Brianna. She knew something." He wiped his hands on his kilt before taking it, careful as though it were something sacred. His eyes moved slowly over the words, his brow furrowing. When he finished, he exhaled deeply and sat beside her. "So that's how it is, then," he murmured. Claire looked at him, startled. "You believe it?" "Aye," he said softly. "Because it feels right, like a truth ye already ken in your bones before ye read it." She wanted to argue, to say that history could be wrong, that fate could still be changed. But deep down, she knew Jamie was right. The air in the cottage had felt different since the storm began, charged, heavy, almost humming. As though time itself was shifting again. Jamie reached out and brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. "If it's true," he said, "then maybe it's an end. Maybe it's a beginning, a way for us to go home." Claire shook her head. "Home? We've already built our home here, Jamie. With our own hands. With everything we've lost." He smiled faintly. "Aye, we have. But ye forget, Sassenach, home has never been a place for us. It's always been wherever you are." She felt her throat tighten. He had said those words before, years ago, when they'd fled Culloden, when the world had tried to tear them apart. Every time, somehow, they had found their way back to each other. But could they really defy time one last time? That night, as they lay in bed, Claire couldn't sleep. The storm still whispered outside, but there was another sound, a low, rhythmic hum, like a vibration beneath the earth. It was faint, but unmistakable. She rose quietly and wrapped a shawl around her shoulders. Jamie stirred. "Where are ye going, lass? There's something out there," she said. "Do you hear it?" He listened, then nodded slowly. I hear it too." They lit a lantern and stepped outside. The rain had softened to a mist, and the air smelled of peat and lightning. The sound grew stronger as they walked toward the old standing stones, the same ones Claire had first touched decades ago, when everything had begun. The stones pulsed faintly with light, just as they had that first day. The air around them shimmered, thick with energy. Claire's breath caught. "Jamie, it's happening again." He took her hand. "Then maybe we're meant to go." She shook her head fiercely. "We don't even know where, or when, it leads." Jamie's eyes held hers, steady and sure. "Does it matter? Wherever it takes us, we'll face it together." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I can't lose you again, Jamie," he smiled sadly. Then Dinah let go. The light from the stones grew brighter, swallowing the night. Claire felt the familiar pull, the sound like wind and water, the feeling of falling through time. Her heart raced, her fingers clinging desperately to his. And then, darkness. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on grass. The rain had stopped. The sky above was a deep, endless blue. She turned, and saw Jamie beside her, alive, breathing, staring in wonder. But something was different. The air was too still. The world felt empty. "Jamie," she whispered. "Where are we?" He looked around, his hand tightening around hers. "I dinna ken," he said softly. "But I think, it's nowhere we've ever been before." Then, from somewhere beyond the hills, came a faint echo, a voice she almost recognized, distant and tender, like a whisper through time. "You found each other again." Jamie and Claire turned toward the sound, and in that moment, the truth began to unfold, a truth that would change everything they believed about time, love, and what it means to never truly say goodbye. The air was unnaturally still. No wind, no sound, no birdsong. Just a vast, haunting silence that seemed to stretch beyond the edge of the world. The grass beneath their feet shimmered faintly, as though touched by starlight, and the sky above was neither day nor night, but something in between. Claire blinked against the strange light. "Jamie, are we alive?" He looked at her, his expression unreadable. I think so. Though I canna say what kind of life this is." They stood together on a hill that looked vaguely familiar, like the highlands, but softer, dreamlike. The landscape glowed faintly from within, and far in the distance, Claire thought she saw shadows, figures moving slowly through the mist. Jamie followed her gaze. "Do ye see them?" "Yes," she whispered. "They look like people." As they descended the hill, the air seemed to hum faintly, like the echo of a heartbeat. And then, one of the shapes stepped forward. Claire gasped. It was Murtaugh. He looked exactly as she remembered, rugged, kind-eyed, his gray hair tied back. But there was something unearthly about him now, as if light passed through his skin. "Murtaugh?" Jamie's voice broke. "Is it truly you?" "Aye, lad," the man said with a gentle smile. "And it's good to see ye again." Jamie gripped his godfather's shoulder, tears filling his eyes. "I thought ye were gone forever." "I was," Murtaugh said softly. "But not lost. Not here." He looked at Claire, then back at Jamie. "Ye've crossed the veil, both of ye. Between time and eternity. A place where love refuses to die." Claire felt her heart tighten. "Are you saying, we're dead?" Murtaugh hesitated. "Not in the way ye think. This place, call it what ye will, exists for souls who still have something left unresolved. For those whose love binds them stronger than death itself. Jamie turned to Claire, his hand finding hers. Then this is what Brianna saw. The storm, the stones, they brought us here. Claire's eyes shimmered. But why us? Murtaugh smiled sadly. Because ye were never meant to live apart. Ye've defied fate too many times, lass. The world canna decide where to keep ye, so it gave ye this, an in-between. For a long time, none of them spoke. The light around them shifted slowly, turning golden like the last hour of dusk. Finally, Jamie asked, "Can we go back?" Murtaugh shook his head. "There is no back, lad. Only forward. But dinna fear, ye've not lost everything. There are others here, those ye loved and lost. Those who waited." He nodded toward the horizon, where other figures began to appear, faces Claire had almost forgotten. Fergus, Jenny, even Dougal, standing in silence. And behind them, the faint laughter of a child echoed on the wind. Claire's heart clenched. Faith, Jamie followed her gaze. His voice was barely a whisper. "Our daughter." The little girl ran toward them, her hair catching the light like spun gold. Claire fell to her knees, arms open, tears streaming down her cheeks as Faith collided into her embrace. "Mama," the child laughed, her voice bright and clear. "I waited so long." Jamie dropped beside them, his hands trembling as he touched the child's hair. "Mo Shridi, it canna be." But it was. She was warm, real, and alive in a way that defied all sense. Murtaugh watched quietly. "This is her chance, Claire. To say what was left unsaid. To hold what ye thought was gone. But be warned, the longer ye stay, the harder it will be to let go." Claire looked up, her cheeks wet. "Let go? How could I?" Jamie took her hand again. His voice was steady now, though his eyes were filled with emotion. "We've been given a gift, Sassenach. A moment outside of time. But I think, it's meant to teach us something." She turned to him, her voice trembling. "Teach us what?" He smiled faintly. "How to say goodbye without losing each other." Claire wanted to protest, to hold on to the moment forever. But when she looked around, she saw the truth in Murtaugh's eyes, in the fading edges of the world around them. This place wasn't meant to last, it was a bridge, not a home. Faith reached up and touched her cheek. "It's okay, Mama, you'll see me again." Jamie lifted the girl into his arms, pressing his forehead to hers. "Ye'll always be in our hearts, wee lass. Always." And as he spoke, the golden light began to shift again, brighter, almost blinding. The shapes of the others began to blur, their outlines dissolving into the air like mist at sunrise. Claire's heart pounded. "Jamie, what's happening?" He held her tight. "I think it's time." "Time for what?" "To choose." She clung to him, trembling. "Choose what?" Jamie looked into her eyes, the storm of all their years reflected in his gaze. "Whether we stay in this dream, or return to the world that still remembers us." The light grew stronger. The sound of the stones, the hum of time itself, rose again in their ears. Claire felt the pull, the same force that had carried her through centuries before. Murtaugh's voice echoed faintly through the blinding glow. "Whatever ye choose, choose it together." Jamie's hand found hers once more, strong and steady. He smiled, that soft, heartbreakingly familiar smile. "Ready, Sassenach?" Claire nodded, tears shining like diamonds. Always, the world around them exploded into light. And then, silence.